Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second ever episode of the Concho Sports Show. I'm Shay Harris, coming to you from Concho Sports Net World Headquarters in beautiful and scenic San Angelo, Texas. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Vince Salazar. How you doing, Vince?
It's good to be here, man. Back with you here from Waco, Texas, but happy to join you here on the best sporting network website show we have here for the Concho Valley.
Yeah, easily in the top 10 of Concho Valley podcast video chat shows, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, Wingstop. You can order wings from them anytime at 227-6777 in San Angelo. They're on Knickerbocker Road. You can also go to wingstop.com or the Wingstop app. And want to remind you to follow us on social media at Concho Sports. A good way to keep up with everything we're doing as far as our content, videos, broadcasts, things like that. And anything interesting going on this week that you want to talk about, or you just been stuck at home looking for things to do, or what?
Well, I've been kind of stuck, but, last week we talked a lot about how the coronavirus has kind of affected sports. From what we saw previously, we talked about mainly it was just a lot of canceling of events. Right now, though, we've seen some major, bigger developments. The XFL Football League, which was going on, filed for bankruptcy. So that's one major casualty. One of my friends from Angelo State, she actually sent me a message on Facebook about a recent event that happened down in Austin, Texas, one of our newest Lone Star Conference members, St. Edward's University. This came out of a report from ABC KVUE that they actually had to cut several of their other athletic teams that were competing in the Lone Star Conference. So, I mean, that's a pretty big casualty right there. And you have to wonder what other universities might go through the same deal where they have to start cutting proms. Just today we saw that from the governor that the state of Texas has suspended the remainder of the school year, and that kind of goes also for UIL. So we won't see I know one team that everybody was kind of watching out in the Concho Valley was San Saba, seeing how well their men's basketball team was doing on their historic run. We won't see how that kind of will end up. And also for baseball and softball for a lot of our Concho Valley schools, they will be done for this year before really getting going. So definitely a really interesting way to see that end, and a lot of questions going in to this next upcoming season. How's football going to play out along with volleyball and the other fall sports? So definitely a lot of questions going forward, but a lot of major developments since the last time we've been on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of news. It's not very uplifting right now, but it is interesting, and hopefully things kind of get back to normal as soon as possible. How about do you have any updates, say maybe a haircut update? No haircuts?
That one, my hair is getting worse now. I'm getting kind of worried here. I might not get to see my father. I had my own mother comment on it the other day, so I'm kind of scared she's going to take the scissors straight to my hair, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. So hopefully I'll figure something else out with that pretty soon here. But hopefully things start getting a little bit back to normalcy, because my hair is starting to get out of control a little bit.
Yeah, that's where I was 2 weeks ago before I had to try to cut it myself. All right, well, let's not waste any more time. We have our very first guest on the show, and it's a big one. It's one of the most heralded and accomplished players in San Angelo Central Bobcats football history, I think it's safe to say. All right, let's welcome Mr. Gehrig Scott to the show. Welcome, Gehrig. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you two?
Doing great. Glad to have you on.
Doing great.
Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Appreciate y'all having me.
It looks like Vince is frozen, but
Yeah, I think I froze.
we just have
again.
to deal with that. We can hear you, so.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, great. Now, Gehrig, we have a graphic we're going to show in a minute just to kind of show kind of all of your accomplishments, both as a team accomplishments and your individual accomplishments. And when you see it all together, it's kind of, it's pretty impressive to say the least. For example, let's just go ahead and show that. You were a 4-year starter. There's really only one other player I can think of that's ever done that at Central, and that is Gunnar Couch, who kind of came onto the scene right after you playing offensive line. You won 4 district championships, which is something that nobody has ever done other than you, which is really cool. Just talk a little bit about that. what it was like just to be a part of that program for so long, 4 years, which is a pretty rare thing in high school, especially at the 6A level.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of my life just because it took so long, in a good way though. But individual numbers, they don't really mean that much. I had great teams all 4 years. I mean, my freshman year, I played with my brother. I played with a bunch of great guys that I grew up with, watching them play baseball with him, and pretty much saw them as my big brothers and everything like that. So that was really cool to play with. And then trying to step up in my brother's footsteps, that was pretty fun. I had great teams all 4 years, though. I mean, there's nothing special about me if you compare it to the other 10 guys on the field with me at one time.
And I was going to ask you, about getting to play with your brother. When y'all were growing up, y'all were, enough years apart where you probably didn't think that you were going to get to play sports together in high school, and it kind of worked out that way. So how special was that for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, when we played flag football, I remember I was always the little brother on the team. I never played really. I was always just kind of wore the uniform, showed up to the game. So whenever his senior year came up, my freshman, it was kind of a thought, but we didn't really think it was going to come into play. And then whenever I got the phone call, it was pretty special for not only us, but our whole family. It was a pretty fun time.
Awesome. What does it take really to be able to play on varsity as a freshman in 6A football? What is it? Because most people can't do it. So what is it? What was it that made you and a few other people be able to do that?
It takes a little luck, but I think a big part of my success goes to our coaches prepare us. I mean, we're in middle school doing the same thing the high school's doing, so there's not much that we were behind on. So whenever I did get the call, I was ready for it because of all the preparation they put into us. And I think a big part of my success also goes to Joseph Brooks. He was our DT my freshman year, and my 8th grade year, remember I'd meet him up there before they would have workouts and morning workouts and everything like that. And I remember I would meet him up there before they went, and he would just sit there and, I mean, he had a great time with me, watching me suffer, and it was nice for him to be on the other side, I'm sure. But yeah, I owe him a big part of my success. He poured into me, and definitely the big reason why I turned out the way I did.
And of course, your brother, we should mention, is Gehrig Scott, who played quarterback and was an outstanding quarterback at Central. I guess he would have graduated in 2013, I think. I think he started at least 2012 and 2013. Was a great quarterback. I think he was actually co-offensive district MVP as a senior with Lorenzo Joe, who was at Abilene Cooper and ended up playing receiver at University of Texas. And of course, your brother went on to play college baseball. I guess he probably could have played college football too, one or the other, but he played college baseball at Texas State and now is back in San Angelo as a coach at Central. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool seeing him come back. I remember whenever he first got that offer, it was kind of a no-brainer whether to take it or not. I mean, it's a candy job working for some great coaches. It's awesome to be able to kind of start out the gate under Brent Davis. I mean, there's nothing better for a resume than that right there.
Right, yeah, that's what I was going to say is if you're going to start your high school coaching career, Coach Davis and his staff is a pretty good way to get acclimated to the scene there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Vince?
All righty, yeah. Well, man, I got to definitely ask you, playing with the Bobcats, you'll play against some really good rival schools, Abilene Christian, Odessa Permian. I got to ask you, man, out of those 4 years, probably what's the one that stands out to you the most during your career?
Team, I don't know. It was always fun playing Odessa Permian because we always beat them, and they were always the biggest mouths that we ever played, so it was always fun getting to play them. But I think the best games were probably Abilene High, just because we went to school with we played baseball with a lot of those kids. Peyton Killam, their quarterback, we grew up playing baseball with him, and we got to meet a lot of the kids through hanging out with him and all of his buddies. We grew up all summers. We'd just be hanging out at the pool or just traveling to games together. Me and Peyton were always roommates whenever one of our parents would take us to the games, and then we'd just stay with them. So that was pretty cool. And then, of course, Abilene Cooper, the 2 years we got to play them, other than the scrimmages, my freshman year when we played them, they were one of the better teams in the state. I mean, they had the names and they had the players, and that was a really special game to get to be part of. Lorenzo Joe and Trey Dye and all those guys, it's pretty fun. Other than that, I mean, it was just fun playing. We played track. We ran track and played baseball and played football against the same guys, so we kind of knew each other, and me being a thrower, I kind of got along with a lot of people. All the throwers in track always got along because everybody else would be stressed out about their track, and they'd be stretching and all that, and we'd just be up there like eating all the food out of the buses. So we got to know each other pretty well.
That's a great way, man.
Oh, yeah.
One thing there was another thing, of course, I want to ask. Everybody in San Angelo, they love talking about this. I remember it was like the most hyped thing going in. A couple years back, of course, the big playoff game against the Allen Eagles in San Angelo. Basically, it was West Texas versus the Metroplex. Tell me about the atmosphere of that game there, man. That had to be big, a big-time game.
Oh, yeah. You mean you grow up Saturday morning, waking up, watching College game day, and it was that feeling. We drove by the stadium that morning. There's people in the lines, and it's like, those people are crazy. Come to find out, my dad was one of them. So, yeah, it was a crazy atmosphere. I remember warming up for it. That was our big thing. Is just like you're playing in front of the same people that you play in front of every time. You're practicing at the same field that we practice every single morning. It's just another game, but it's really hard to tell yourself that whenever there's 20,000 people screaming at you. But yeah, the atmosphere of that game's unreal. We got to live the real life college football experience when it comes to that game. There was nothing better than it playing Thanksgiving weekend. It was unforgettable for sure.
Yeah, definitely probably one of the biggest games. I didn't even have a chance to go, but, I tried my best to keep up with it. So, yeah, man, that was a phenomenal one. I wanted to ask you a little bit, you played for a short time at ASU. I was just kind of curious, as a high school athlete, what do you kind of have to do to get prepared to play at the collegiate level? I know it's kind of a little bit different there.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is a mindset. You gotta have confidence going in for sure, but you also got to get out of your head that you're the best player on the field. You got to realize that everybody else there is the best player in their high schools, that they're not there for no reason. There's not one person that plays college football that's meant to ride the bench. Everyone there is better than your average high school level kid. So just stepping up your game, competing a little bit harder, just kind of when you're a freshman, knowing your place, you know that you're probably going to be a scout team guy, and just buying into it, not allowing it to just tear you down. I think that's definitely the biggest challenge. And then, at Central, I think it prepares you really well for college football because our football program was a job. It wasn't like we could just go and show up, do our time, and clock out. We were there 6 days a week. We were putting in the time. We were definitely doing everything that we put in much past 40 hours. We did overtime every week, and I think that's how college is. And a lot of kids that don't play at the 6A level don't get that experience because they're used to playing multiple sports, playing every sport, doing all this kind of stuff. And in college, they're paying you to be there, so you got to be there and compete and perform. And I think Central prepares you so well for that. That whole program, the coaching staff, they just do a great job of preparing anybody at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right, man. A lot of those Bobcats go on to do great things and other athletics and even just outside the sport as well. So completely agree with you there, man. Of course, I got to ask you, your father, the legendary Hall of Fame Ram Bell softball head coach over there at Angelo State University, Travis Scott. You can tell us a little bit about his support for both you and your brother and y'all's careers, both, through high school and through college.
Yeah, I come from a long line of coaches. My mom's a coach. Her fiance is a coach. My stepmom is obviously the assistant coach at ASU. My sister's a coach. My brother's a coach. I'm the only one that tried to get out of the field and do something a little different. So, sports was bred into us. Every weekend we were doing something. There was never no time. There was never, we're just going to take the week off. You couldn't. If I didn't have a game, if I didn't have a tournament, I was getting drugged to my brother's. We were going to watch my sister play. We were riding the bus to one of my dad's games. My whole family support. For me and my brother, there was nothing less than the best with that. It was never a question of, are you going to go to college or not? It was more of like a where. It was kind of expected in our family. I think it definitely pushed us to be great. It pushed me to be better than my brother. It pushed my brother better to be than my sister. And then if we ever start slacking, my dad starts throwing some of his accolades at us and really pushes us. So I think definitely my whole family, my mom and my dad, pushed us in a great way.
Yeah, understandable, man. A lot of great athletes for y'all's household there.
Absolutely.
And I guess your family must like baseball just a little bit, right? I mean,
Yeah, a little bit.
your name's
Bit.
Gehrig. Well, obviously, we know where the name Gehrig comes from, I guess. I'm taking a wild guess there, but
Yeah.
um,
So my name's Gehrig Brooks, Lou Gehrig Brooks Robinson. My brother's name's Mickey Ryan, Mickey Mantle, Nolan Ryan. Yeah, it's kind of, my dad wanted to name me Gehrig DiMaggio, but my mom wouldn't let him. They figured she'd have enough problems with Gehrig, much less DiMaggio. So yeah, I hated it in kindergarten though, because there wasn't a single kid that could pronounce my name, and to this day I have to enunciate the end of the world just to get people to say my name right. So I answer anything close, but it's unique, it's cool, and if you meet the right guy, they definitely know where it comes from, unless they think you come from the disease, which I get that a lot too.
didn't think about that. Well,
Yeah.
I kind of know what that's like with names because my name still gets pronounced, all kinds of ways. So I'm used to that.
Yeah.
And of course, I always tell people, oh, well, Shea Stadium. Now people usually don't because they don't use it anymore. But
Yeah.
or I say Shea Butter. People always know how to say Shea Butter, but they don't know how to say Shea by itself. But that's how it goes sometimes. Also, going back to that 2016 football season, I kind of wanted to talk about that some more. That was arguably, other than the two central teams that won state championships in 43 and 66, probably the best single season in team in Central football history. How early did you guys know how special that team was going to be? I mean, did y'all kind of know for a few years, here in a few years we're going to be pretty good, or was it just kind of as it was happening you started to realize how good you guys were?
No, I mean, even in middle school, I mean, I went to Glenn, and it didn't matter whether it was the classroom, the sports, the principals walking through the hall. They knew that something about our class was a little bit better than the rest. My freshman year, I mean, I played on a great team with a bunch of great players. We were better than how far we went. I'll say that. That team is definitely in the talk. If you put it, and the numbers do not show it, but if you put in the talk of the best teams, I think that one's definitely up there too. The players on that team were spectacular, but going into it, I mean, we knew right out of middle school that we were going to be good. That's why it was a big thing for me to play for the varsity, because I really, at the same time, it was cool, but I really wanted to stay with the guys that I grew up playing with, because I knew that they were going to be great as a freshman team, which is pretty hard to do around here. Compete at the freshman level is pretty tough. So, and then after our sophomore year, we knew we were going to be good, and then after our junior year, we knew, wow, we've got some great people to fill, some great people that just left. We knew that it was going to be a really special year. There was a couple gaps that we were kind of worried about, and they turned out better than we could have even imagined. I mean, Ty Harmon moved over there, and he did a great job. CB Russell, I mean, it was guys that at the beginning we were moving, scrambling people around, and they found the right fit, and they ran with it completely.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the interesting things I've noticed watching the Central program over the last few years is it seems like, you might see a hole going like after a season wondering, how are they going to fill that? And then they're always able to move guys around and find the right spots for the right players, and it always works out pretty well.
Yeah, I think a big part of that too is when you're on JV, you're the scout team for the varsity, and so we got kids that, I mean, they're our starting corner, and they're playing running back for our scout team that week because the kid we're playing super fast. So I definitely think that our program is built through and through to be successful at any level, and it's hard to do. I mean, at the 6A level, you're competing with people that got 6 people per position, especially Allen. I mean, their graduating class is more than our whole school. So if for them to be able to do what they do with the amount of kids that we have compared to a lot of other kids in 6A is amazing. It comes down to just our off season. I mean, you're going to be good no matter what because of the amount of work we put in. Football's a year-round sport. It's West Texas. I mean, it's a religion around here. So it's not like, it's baseball season, we're going to take the break. So, I mean, if you're good at football, you're good at football in a way, and our program is meant for making football players, not meant for making linebackers or running backs. They adapt, they overcome. That's one of our big things that we worked on in high school, was just being able to adapt to the situation in front of you. So if somebody goes down, it's next man up. We can't take a break. We couldn't do anything, and I definitely think all that credit goes to the coaches. I mean, they run a completely amazing program that it doesn't allow for anything less than the best.
Yeah, and one of the things you said, how tough it is to really be really competitive as a freshman team, just kind of the way the program is set up. And of course, I think everybody kind of noticed how good this past year's freshman team was. So, you know, they may be hopefully following the same kind of path in the program that you guys did when you were at that age.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that group, and theirs is the kind of the same thing as ours. I was one of the encouragers at FCA this year, and just the kids that came down and they were talking to us, and there was a big group, and Coach Laura pulled me over and he was like, "Hey, I want you to talk to a couple kids." And so I was like, "Okay, that's sweet. Yeah, I'll go do that." And I go over there, and he didn't tell me there was going to be 150 of them, but he pulled me aside and he was like, "This class is going to be the next y'all." He said, they're not only athletic, but he said, you walk through the classroom and you can just see the light in them. And that's really special to me, because I think our class, that's something that kind of gets left out, is the amount of great people we had on our team. A lot of people know the number, they know the name, but they don't know the person behind the jersey. And I think that kind of gets left out, especially with our class. We had a lot of great people in our class. So, yeah, I'm excited to see. I heard a lot about them from my brother, just a little bit of post-game talk, and he'd always text us and talk about their games and stuff like that. And I think he really enjoyed being a big part of their success this year. So it's going to be exciting to see what they do in a couple of years.
Yeah, and you mentioned one more thing about your 2016 team. You know, you mentioned how good they were, kind of better than, you know, third round, which is good. But they really were a team that could have competed for a state championship. It's just, for one thing, 6A Division I in Texas is probably the toughest playoff bracket of high school football anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this past year, looking at this D1 bracket, there was something like 3 of the top 10 teams in the country, and, you know, the national top 100 that they put out were in that bracket. And it's like that pretty much every year. So that's tough. And, of course, you guys lost your quarterback, Cal Vincent, before halftime in that game. And, you know, that's just the kind of thing that happens in football, and you got to kind of overcome it and move on. But one other thing I want to mention, you know, we're talking, and one of the reasons that they are considered one of the best teams in program history is they were the first team, which is pretty amazing, since 1943 to go undefeated in the regular season. And one of the crazy things about that I was thinking about earlier is that Central won a state championship, you know, in the meantime, before there was an undefeated season. So it's pretty impressive, and it shows how hard it is to win every game like that. It's especially in this district, going back, you know, 50 plus years. Got to always have some of the best teams in the state historically.
Yeah, our freshman year, I mean, we lost Amarillo Tascosa, and that was probably the biggest fluke of my career. Sophomore year, followed it up with El Paso, which shouldn't have happened either, but there was always that one game that always killed us. Junior year, we lost Abilene High, and they were a great team. We came back to play on senior year and got a little bit of revenge on them. But, yeah, all 3 years we were that close to perfection, and that was one of our big things. It was like that one game ain't going to happen this year. That was something we told ourselves. It was always a big thing. It was always pushed in our off season. You didn't touch the line, that's your one game. It's like it's the little things that make those little losses so big. And so I definitely think we took that to heart. And senior year, we pulled it off. It was definitely a little bit of pressure. And, I mean, it didn't matter whether it was supposed to be a rollover game or the biggest game of the year. I mean, we had to treat it the same way just because of the pressure on our back for not screwing up that one game like the past 3 years.
I think Vince is back, his video at least. Well, kind of.
Okay, I think so. Yeah, kind of hear him there. But, yeah, I wanted to ask you there, you know, I know for sure a big fan of the you know, your alma mater, the Central Bobcats. But I wanted to ask you, you know, what do you think going forward for some of the other Concho Valley schools? I know the Lakeview Chiefs have gotten a little bit better here with their replacement where they're at in the UIL. You know, we'll definitely see a new regime over at Miles with the new coaching staff coming in, and then some of the other schools. You know, what are your take on some of these other Concho Valley schools and how they've performed, you know, overall this season?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who you play for. I mean, I think if you're a true small town West Texas kid, I mean, you got to root for the smallest town around you. I went to ASU, and ASU is built up of pretty much small towns within an hour away from it. So when I got to high school, or when I got to college, I got to really know a lot of kids around here and just the little schools around here. So I definitely think we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder in high school that we were that small town West Texas team that everybody thought we were going to roll over. So it's always good to see teams like Wall and, I mean, anybody really around here. I mean, you got to root for them. You got to root for the teams closest to you. I mean, whether you're growing up playing baseball with those kids or something like that, I mean, you really want your area to stand out a little bit more than the rest.
And talk about a little bit some of your favorite memories at Central, just as an athlete, or anything that stands out to you.
I don't know. I think as far as Central High School goes, I loved it. Our teachers and our coaches and Mr. Waters and Maria Luna, they do a great job over there. They made high school amazing for all of us. They treated us with the utmost respect, and they expected nothing less from us back. They didn't let us. It didn't matter whether you were a football player or somebody that not many people knew their names. You were treated the same. So I think Central High School is definitely somewhere that I would love to send my kids to. I think there's a lot of great things that come from it, and especially for it's the only big town, big school around here. So I think that's a big thing for the big school to still do pretty good. I love the whole place. As far as football goes, I mean, there's so many memories that I couldn't even get into them. I mean, we had millions of things going on. One thing that they wrote about in the article that I'll say again, me and my buddy Greg Garrett and Adam West, we'd always go to Kenny Blannick's with Greg's dad on Mondays for lunch, and every single week we'd go and we'd sit at the same spot. They'd have our waters waiting on us. They were really ready for us, and I remember every time we walked in, there was this really old guy that sat in the corner, and he'd always comment on Adam's height when we walked in. But like one of the most cool feelings that I ever experienced was whenever we went there right before the Allen game on Monday, and there was this one guy sitting at our table, and it was known as our table. And so we walked up and we were kind of frozen, and we were about to go to another table, and Kenny Blannick himself, he came out and he told the guy he had to move because it's football season, and the guy said, "Oh, anything for the Bobcats," and he was happy to move and came over and talked to us. I mean, walked through the town, and people know us. I mean, people know your names, people know your numbers. They don't really know the face, and that's kind of awful, but it happens. It's still cool. It's a big town, but I mean, it's so small within itself. There's so much support around the whole town. I mean, the Allen game showed it. The whole town was there. I mean, if somebody wasn't there, they were watching online, or there was some way that they were trying to be able to support us. The whole high school experience here was awesome, and it followed up into college. I mean, going to Angelo State, there were still people that were big supporters in high school that they were excited about Angelo State to watch us and just to be able to kind of follow us along through our footsteps. And there's still people today that keep up with us in our everyday lives that, I mean, they grew up knowing a name and a number in high school, and now they care about us as people. So I think that's a big thing that you don't get at the Metroplex. You don't get that in a town that doesn't truly care about their kids. They care about their records, and I think that's something that this town does better than the rest.
Yeah, and so kind of on that line, so what are you doing with your life now? What are your goals for the future? What are you looking at? Because like you said, you're looking to break away from the coaching mold, kind of like a lot of your other family members.
Yeah, it's one reason that I got out of football, health and everything else, and I got this job opportunity at MQI Land Surveying. We do a bunch of ranch surveys, and it's the dream job for me. I mean, I work for a great company. I work for a great boss. They treat us really well. We just pretty much drive around on a Ranger all day and find some property corners, and we get to draw it up. I work with a lot of engineers. I work with a lot of people that I went to school with while I was at engineering at Angelo State. So it's really cool. I mean, it's definitely my kind of job. I can't sit in an office all day, and they give me the opportunity not to. So I definitely think it was worth me stepping around for football, just moving on with my life a little bit. I think the opportunity was right there, and I would have been dumb to take it. To not take it. So yeah, never know what I'm going to do with actually yesterday I did a survey on our defensive ends coach, BJ Patillo. I did a survey on his house, and it was cool because I always see people I know and show up to this random house in Miles, and there he is. And so, yeah, he invited me in. I even helped him a little bit at work on his house. So I think my job's awesome because I get to go around town all day and see people and just see old people, and you never know, meet new people, go new places. It's pretty fun. I love it.
Awesome. So it sounds like you're able to keep pretty busy. You're fortunate with all this stuff going on that you have a job that you can go and you're not stuck at home all day like some folks like Vince is right now.
Yeah, no, there's no staying at home for us. I mean, we're still putting in 50, 60-hour weeks. There's no shortage of work in my line. It's pretty blessed to be able to do that too with all the craziness going on.
And last week, Vince and I were talking about kind of the things that we've been doing to keep busy. A lot of people are binge watching TV shows while they're stuck at home, things like that. Do you watch much TV? Is there anything that you've been watching, TV or movies or anything like that?
I usually get off work about 8 o'clock, and by then it's kind of come home, have supper, and go to bed, and wake up at 7 and do it again. Yeah, I don't do a lot of watching TV, but with all the stuff going on, I'm staying with my buddy Greg until we move into our house, because I just moved back from Corpus Christi. And every weekend we go out to Dublin. We go out on the ranch, and we just drive around and have fun, shoot birds, and just kind of get away from all this. And it's safe enough to where we're not around people and all that like that. But it's nice to get out of the house, because, I mean, it's hard to do right now. There's not many places you can go and just get away. So it's nice to just get outside the house and do something different for once.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're definitely the outdoors type. When you've got free time, you like to get out there and get out in the open.
Oh yeah, that's why my job's awesome. I get to do that every single day.
That's awesome, man.
Real quick. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask you, man, if professional football, I'm curious. Right now, who knows what's going to happen going forward for the season, but I got to get an idea at least here. Who's your early take on probably your favorite to win it all this year in the NFL?
I don't even know if I could tell you. I can't tell you last time I watched an NFL game. I'm a big college football guy. I mean, my whole family, we grew up watching college football. We're big OU guys, so I couldn't give you one idea on NFL. I'm heartbroken that the XFL isn't going anymore. I was really excited to see that one season. Man, I felt like that was on the come up. But, yeah, I couldn't give you – definitely not going to say the Cowboys, though. That's my only thing.
All right, that's probably a safe bet, actually. So,
well, I'm kind of the same way when it comes to college football versus the NFL. I've always been a college football guy, but really the last couple of years, I've kind of mostly cut out the NFL, and I feel a lot happier, because it was really frustrating me, all the rules and like trying to make a catch. You have to do a couple of backflips, before they're counted as a catch, stuff like that.
The politics and there's too much crap that goes into it. You got guys getting paid too much money to do what should be fun. I think that's not how the game's supposed to be played. And I think college, they're working to get somewhere. And just like high school, I think people fight for it a lot harder in high school, because they're looking to play at the next level. And I think college is the same way. They're looking to play at the next level. And I think whenever people get to the NFL, they think they're entitled. And yes, they're great athletes. They're the top of the line, all that, and nothing to say anything about them. But no, my whole family grew up watching college football, and there's a lot more physicality and a lot less politics, and that's definitely more my style.
And the only problem I have with anything you said there was the part about OU. But at least I think you have roots in Oklahoma, so you're not just somebody.
Yeah, we moved from Oklahoma when I was 4, so I was kind of forced into it, I guess you could say. But better than being a UT fan.
Yeah, then my last question for you, since you were an OU fan, I got to ask then, who do you have as your favorite? I'm pretty sure I know who your favorite is, but who is your favorite this year for the Big 12 to win it all?
Oh, OU definitely. We got Spencer Rattler coming. We'll be good. Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that I remember. We were coming back from church camp after our junior year, and this is right after the Kyler Murray era and all that. And Thomas H was looking. We were at a restaurant on our way back, and we're all sitting there. Me, Adam, Jeff, Tommy. We're all sitting there, and all of a sudden, Tommy's like, "Wow." He's like, if things line up, we could play Allen in the 3rd round. And I remember my whole thought was like, oh, gosh, we're going to play against Kyler Murray and all this. So, yeah, I mean, just the thought of not that we play against him, but just his team and the caliber team that he played on, and then getting to watch him play, that's awesome. Him and Baker Mayfield, got to love those guys. They compete hard.
Yeah, a guy like Kyler Murray in high school was just terrifying with that kind of speed.
Yeah,
And
it's ridiculous.
he's not big, but he's also got a rocket arm. So
Yeah, I mean, we
there's not
played.
much
I
you can do.
remember Lorenzo Joe. I mean, that dude. That's about as good of an athlete as I could ever play against. Him and Trey Dye both back there. I remember me and Jalen Lane went for a tackle, and I don't know who broke his pinky, but he broke his pinky. And I remember I was all like, "Ooh, cool me," and all that. And then he taped it up and finished the game on his throwing hand. So I didn't feel that cool after. But yeah, that dude's a dog, and I think he deserved all the success he got in college and even now coaching at OSU. I mean, that dude's good. And Trey, little Jordan Humphrey, that he was pretty solid. I never got to play against him, but I was on the sidelines for that one because of the injury. But yeah, that dude, those are two athletes that definitely don't go unnoticed.
Yeah, I remember Will Jordan Humphrey looking in high school playing running back. Of course, he played receiver in college. With that, he's 6'4", so you don't see a lot of 6'4" running backs.
No.
And the other thing, when you're that tall, you don't look nearly as fast as you are because you're taking these big, long strides. And I remember because I actually got to go to that game. It was at McLean Stadium at Baylor, and I was like, man, he just doesn't look like he's moving very fast. But then you'd see him in the secondary, and other
Yeah.
guys were trying to catch him, and he's just as fast as anybody
Yeah.
else. It's tough.
When you're 6'4", when you're 6'4", though, you fall forward for 3 yards every play. It doesn't matter if you get tackled for a loss, you're at least breaking even. Stretch your arm out.
Yeah,
That game was wild to watch.
And in that game, they were hit. They did a really good job on him. But like you said, when he falls forward, he's always going to get a couple of yards just from falling forward.
Yeah,
so it's tough.
exactly.
All right, got anything, Vince?
I think that's kind of I'm out of juice now.
All right, well, that's pretty
I
close
had
to
all
a
my questions answered.
good place to end it. But I do want to ask, we've got some quick hitter questions I want to ask our guests just for fun. You can just give, like a short answer. You can expand on it if you want to, but it's all easy stuff. So
Okay,
are you ready?
let's go.
All right. Okay. If you could play a football game at any stadium, anywhere, and it doesn't even have to be a football stadium, where would it be?
I don't know. I played at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. That was cool. Played at McLean. That was cool. Played a lot of places, and the only game that I could ever replay if I could would be here against Allen. I mean, San Angelo Stadium, I mean, we grew up playing there. We practiced every morning at 6 o'clock in the freezing rain. Practiced there every 2 days at 110. I mean, if I could play anywhere, I guarantee it'd be that place right there.
Yeah, good answer. And
Good call.
what would you say, what are the best and worst stadiums you've played at, just in terms of, it could be anything. It could be facilities or anything.
We played at, it was when we played El Paso. I'm pretty sure it was in Monahans. We played, it was awful. I mean, Odessa High is never great, don't get me wrong, and Ratliff's cool for the history, but it's not a nice place whenever you're spoiled with San Angelo Central. But yeah, that one was rough. But the worst field conditions I ever played on was one of the nicer fields, and it was Shotwell in Abilene my freshman year. We played Ember or Fossil Ridge, I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh,
The
yes.
team that we lost in the playoffs freshman year. And I remember before the game, we go out there and both teams lined up on the end zone and just walked to the other end zone, and you just see cleat marks in the ice. And yeah, oh, that game was awful. I mean, I was wearing white sleeves, and they're just straight blood from all the ice cutting us. So yeah, that was definitely the worst game I ever played in. And then in college, we played in New Mexico, Western New Mexico, and yeah, there's nothing good about Western New Mexico. Their drive, the stadium, nothing. And we went over there, and I mean, we played in Angelo State has the best facilities in D2, if you ask me, especially in this conference. I mean, they're uncomparable. That was a blessing to be able to play at ASU. But going to some of the places we played at was a lot different. I played my first game on dirt or on grass there, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I played one game on actual grass in high school that I can remember. And if we did, it was well taken care of. So, I mean, we were turf all the way. So it was a lot different.
Yeah, I remember, I think it may be the only, because I think I asked Coach Davis about this at his press conference this year. I think the only grass field that he's ever played at was this past year at, I think it was Old Birdville Stadium, maybe,
Yeah.
against Halton.
I don't remember playing on one, so I mean, now our kids in middle school, yeah, our kids in middle school now don't even play on grass. They're about to turf the YMCA fields around here. I mean, West Texas, everybody thinks, oh, it's so cool to play on turf and all that, and we're like, no, it's hot. Like, we just don't have enough grass to play on.
Right. And actually, that reminds me, I see that they are putting in new turf at San Angelo Stadium right now.
I did see that the other day when I was driving by. I remember when they first did that going into our freshman year, going into our 8th grade year, they had the 2-colored greens, and good Lord, that thing, it stuck out big time. So I'm excited to see what it looks like this year again.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to keep the same design or change it.
Yeah, I know. They better. Can't be changing it up on us.
Yeah, that's a pretty good design they've had there for a while now. With
yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. All right. Oh, and what would be, other than San Angelo Stadium, what would be the best stadium that you've played at?
Dallas Cowboys, obviously. Played there twice. The locker rooms you could take a nap in. My individual locker, you could literally sit in and swing your feet one way and touch the other side barely. And then chargers in the lockers. Ours had that, but it was ridiculous. It was overkill for sure. When you get to play a game like that in high school, it just spoils you for sure.
Yeah, I figured that would be your answer on that one. It's kind of hard to beat that stadium. Even if you're in the NFL player, it's probably hard to beat that stadium.
Yeah.
And what? Okay, here we go. Ford or Chevy? Easy one.
Ooh.
Ford.
Okay.
Ford.
Ooh.
All day.
Vince.
No, I'm sorry, Paul. So I got to go Chevy. Chevy over.
I mean, I drive a Duramax for work, so I mean, I understand the Chevy, but my boss drives a really nice F-350 King Ranch. And, yeah, that one.
Yeah, I've owned both Ford and Chevy trucks, so I'm good with either one.
My dad, he had an 87, 88 Chevy that I rode a lot growing up. So, I mean, Chevy was already engraved in my mind. So,
yeah,
I like Dodge,
my
too.
First truck was a Chevy. My first truck was a Chevy, but definitely Ford.
All right. Here's one that you might have to think about, or maybe not. Favorite sports movie?
Oof, there's so many. If remember the Titans in there, you're not American. The Blind Side's new. That one's good. I don't know. I think one of them definitely has to be, and it's not real sporty, but it's pretty sporty, would be Radio, just because I love that movie. Yeah. I mean, through and through, that movie's awesome, but I don't know. There's so many. You know how many sports movies I had to watch growing up? There wasn't Disney Channel. It was either ESPN or ESPN2.
Yep. Yeah. When you really think about it, like you may not realize how many sports movies there are until you actually start to think about it, and there are a lot more than you would think.
And they're all pretty good.
Yeah. You got a favorite?
Facing the Giants. I love Facing the Giants.
Oh man, my favorite. I can't even think of it at the top of my head. I have to say probably too. Remember the Titans or
yeah.
There was Rudy. Rudy probably is one that I really remember growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad will tell you Bull Durham or Field of Dreams.
Oh yeah, those are great too.
Oh yeah.
Baseball. Yeah, I would say I probably don't have a favorite. It's hard to pick a favorite of anything, but Rudy would definitely be up there for sure. Let's see. Okay, if you had to choose one, you could only eat one for the rest of your life, would it be barbecue or Mexican food? These aren't as easy as I thought they were.
Yeah, that one's harder than the movies, the trucks. I don't know. Because I got to be a red meat guy, I'd have to say barbecue, just because, I don't know, though. Mexican food's hard to beat.
What about you, Vince? Can you choose?
I'm going to have to go barbecue, man. Everywhere I've been to in West Texas has had some great barbecue place. I know Austin has a few, but to me, it still can't compare with what you can have out in West Texas. I can't live without the barbecue. I got to go with that.
Yeah.
Mexican food is just the same food it's the same thing in just a different format. So,
yeah.
The same ingredients.
It works whatever they do.
Yeah, it's all good. And I'm not even going to choose between those. I can't really do it. I don't have to, so I'm not going to. Okay, Rangers or Astros?
grew up watching the Rangers. We always go during the summer. We'd go to Hurricane Harbor and go to the Rangers game. But definitely think it's fun watching the Astros, especially the past few years. I think I watched every single minute of every single game the last few runs. They're fun to watch, and especially when I was at ASU, I remember we got a bunch of kids from Houston up there, and we had a bunch of Houston fans, and it was definitely the talk of the week whenever all that was going down. Our assistant coach, O'Brien and GA, all those guys, it was a ridiculous week. They'd come in just screaming and yelling.
All right. Let's see. One more. Okay, this is a tough one. This is something that philosophers and scientists have been debating for millennia.
Okay.
So, okay. Creamy or crunchy peanut butter?
Creamy, without a doubt. Consistency. Life's about consistency.
Vince?
Yeah, I go the same way there, brother. What's it they say? Great minds think alike. I'm going with creamy as well.
Yeah.
I'm going the other way with crunchy. I used to be a creamy guy, and then I found because crunchy just didn't sound good, and then I started to try it, and I like it. So.
Nah, consistency.
By the way, Vince, Astros or Rangers?
Oh, that's an easy one. I got to go with the Rangers. Man, I grew up here in Central Texas, and you right in Waco, and you get bred on all the Dallas teams so easily. Texas Rangers. Plus, I love making Sam Fowler upset about it with him and his.
Yeah.
Rangers all the way.
He loves his Astros. Yeah, I grew up as a Rangers fan, so yeah, I'm with the Rangers. Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm excited to go inside the new stadium too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, beautiful new stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw actually the old stadium, ballpark at Arlington, whatever they call it now. Arlington ISD just signed a deal to play games there every year.
Really?
Games, so they're going to be using
That's
that.
cool.
That's good.
So that's pretty cool. Let's get some good use out of a good stadium. I want to miss that stadium.
I'm not going to miss the sunburns.
Yeah, that's the
the
good thing about having a roof and air conditioning. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
at least.
definitely.
All right, Gehrig. Well, it's been a lot of fun. We appreciate having you on. Maybe we can have you
Appreciate
on
y'all
again
having
sometime
me.
and talk about maybe the upcoming Central season or something like that.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. That was Gehrig Scott, legendary San Angelo Central football player. And thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.
All right, Vince. Had a great show. Any closing final thoughts?
Yeah, like you mentioned, their boss is phenomenal phenomenal show there tonight. Great having Gehrig Scott with us on here. Our second show. So, I'll be ready for the next one. I'm excited to see who our next guest is going to be. And yeah, I can't wait for it, boss. It's going to be fun.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot. And I just want to thank everybody again for watching. Also want to thank our sponsor, Wingstop. Again, you can order wings from them, curbside pickup or delivery. And also want to remind everybody, follow us on social media right here at Concho Sports. And also, one other thing, like I mentioned last week, I want to remind you that our episodes are going to be up soon in podcast form. So if you want to listen on your favorite podcast service or app, you'll be able to do that soon. All right, everybody, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.